The sharpest lies never collapse because of big mistakes. They collapse because of tiny cracks no one else bothers to notice. And on the night her daughter introduced her perfect future husband, Eleanor Carter spotted one of those cracks within the first 3 seconds. Not in his smile, not in his expensive watch, but in the shoes on his feet. To everyone else they looked like luxury Italian leather. To Eleanor, a retired forensic auditor, the stitching on the inner heel was off by a single millimeter. A counterfeit, and men who fake small things usually hide deadly ones. What she didn't know yet was that this tiny flaw would soon become the thread that unraveled a murder plot aimed at her own daughter. Eleanor lived alone in a weather-beaten cottage overlooking the gray Atlantic cliffs of Northport Bay. Retirement hadn't softened her habits. Precision followed her everywhere. She measured spices with surgical care, cut vegetables into identical cubes, and folded napkins with military alignment. So when the doorbell rang, slicing through the rhythm of her chopping knife, her chest tightened. Not with excitement. With instinct, the same instinct that once exposed corporate fraud worth millions. "Mom, we're here," Lily's cheerful voice floated through the wooden door. Eleanor wiped her already clean hands and opened it. Lily stood glowing in a cream coat, cheeks flushed from the cold wind. Behind her stood the man, tall, polished, perfectly curated. His smile was practiced, his posture rehearsed. He stepped forward smoothly. "Mrs. Carter," he said warmly. "I'm Adrian. Lily's told me so much about you." Eleanor shook his hand. Soft palms, no calluses, interesting for someone who claimed to spend weekends rebuilding vintage engines. Her eyes dropped casually. There it was, the fake stitching. "A microscopic flaw, but enough." "Call me Eleanor," she replied calmly, stepping aside. "Come in before the cold steals your bones." Dinner unfolded like theater. Adrian commanded attention, carving roast chicken with dramatic flair. He spoke of growing up near oil fields, abandoning wealth to pursue real craftsmanship. Lily watched him with stars in her eyes. Eleanor watched his pupils. They didn't react when he laughed. "So," Eleanor said lightly, sipping water, "you said you grew up near Redstone Basin?" "Yeah," Adrian nodded. "The humidity there is unbearable." Eleanor smiled politely. "Redstone Basin sits in dry desert air." "No humidity at all." A pause, half a second, but it was there. The flicker of irritation before his charm snapped back into place. "Guess I mixed up my memories," he chuckled. Eleanor leaned back in her chair, 3 red flags already. Fake shoes, fake labor hands, fake hometown details, and the night was only getting started. Eleanor just detected the first cracks in Adrian's perfect mask, but the next surprise he reveals will raise stakes she never imagined. If Eleanor had learned anything in her decades of auditing powerful people, it was this: the most dangerous individuals always distract with generosity. And Adrian proved that rule before dessert even arrived. "Lily, why don't you show your mom?" Adrian said suddenly, standing and guiding them toward the wide bay window overlooking the driveway. Outside, parked beneath the porch lantern, sat a gleaming crimson convertible. The polished metal reflected the moonlight like a mirror. It looked aggressive, fast, alive. "It's a restored 1967 Falcon Roadster," Adrian announced proudly. "Every bolt replaced by hand. I built it for Lily." "An engagement gift," Lily gasped, covering her mouth. "Mom, isn't it beautiful?" Eleanor didn't answer right away. Cars weren't romance to her. They were machines. Machines failed. Machines killed. "It's shiny," Eleanor finally said. Adrian leaned closer, lowering his voice. It's safer than most modern cars. I recalibrated the braking system myself, very responsive, very sensitive. Alina turned slowly to face him. His cologne was expensive, layered heavily, masking something stale beneath it. I'm sure you checked everything, she said evenly. Her mind began assembling a quiet ledger. Fake footwear, geographic slip, overperformed charm. And now a lavish gift designed around speed. Later that night, after they left, Alina sat alone at her kitchen table. The wind howled against the windows. She replayed every detail, every micro-expression, every word choice. Numbers always told the truth, and his numbers didn't add up. Over the next 2 weeks, wedding plans exploded across Lily's life. Dress fittings, venue deposits, tastings. Meanwhile, Alina slept less and researched more. She called former colleagues, ran background checks through old industry contacts, but Adrian's history was spotless, too spotless, like freshly wiped glass. Then came the engagement celebration at Seabrook Terrace, a cliffside hall dripping with crystal chandeliers and ocean mist. Alina arrived early, scanning exits before Dacre. She didn't care about flowers. She cared about patterns. That's when she saw them, Adrian's parents. A heavy-set man in an expensive suit that didn't quite fit. A thin woman wrapped in silk who laughed too loudly and too often. They stood near the champagne fountain, collecting compliments. Alina approached with practiced ease. "Mr. and Mrs. Hale," she smiled, extending her hand. "Lovely to finally meet you." The man hesitated, half a second too long. Yes, Alina, right," he said uncertainly. "Parents don't forget the bride's mother." Alina handed him a glass. "Adrian mentioned you sold your mining operations back in 2. Tough year for the market." "Oh, dreadful," he nodded quickly. "Lost a fortune." Wrong answer. That year had been profitable for that sector. He didn't know the industry. He didn't know the story he was supposed to live inside. Alina's stomach tightened. Actors, all of them, and if the family was fake, then the danger wasn't theoretical anymore, it was personal. Alina barely finished her champagne before Adrian appeared at her side, fingers tightening on her shoulder with a grip that looked affectionate to strangers but felt like a warning. "Mom, already interrogating the family," he joked softly. "Let's give them a break." He guided her toward a quiet corner near the balcony doors, isolating her from the crowd with effortless control. "You seem tense lately," Adrian said gently. "Lily's worried. She says you haven't been sleeping." "I worry when stories don't match reality," Alina replied. "Your father doesn't understand his own industry. Your mother changed your family history mid-sentence." Adrian sighed theatrically and reached into his jacket pocket. "Speaking of worry, Lily said you forgot your blood pressure medication at the house. She asked me to bring it." He produced a small silver case and opened it. Inside lay a single white pill, identical shape, identical scoring line. Even the color matched. Alina felt her heartbeat thudding louder. She had been distracted lately. The bottle could really be missing. "Here," Adrian said smoothly, offering a glass of sparkling water. "You're flushed." "Take it?" For a split second, Alina hesitated. Refusing would look paranoid, accepting would restore control. She swallowed. "Thank you," she said quietly. Adrian smiled. This time it reached his eyes, and that terrified her. 15 minutes later, the room began to tilt. At first it was subtle, a buzzing sensation in her fingers. Then the music stretched strangely like it was underwater. Alina grabbed the edge of the table. "This isn't my medication," she whispered. Across the room, Lily laughed with friends. Adrian leaned toward her, whispering something while glancing back at Alina. She tried to stand. Her knees buckled. A crystal vase crashed to the floor. The room fell silent. "Mom!" Lily rushed over, panic flashing across her face. Alina tried to speak, but her tongue felt heavy. "The pill he—" "Oh dear," Adrian's mother announced loudly. "She's drunk." "I'm not," Alina slurred, pointing weakly at Adrian. "He's fake, all of it is fake." Adrian stepped forward with perfect composure, gently taking Alina's wrists. "Let's get you some air," he told the guests calmly. "She's been under a lot of stress." They escorted her upstairs to a private suite. The drug pressed heavier on her limbs. Lily paced, crying softly. "Mom, why would you do this tonight?" Lily whispered. "He's lying to you," Alina forced out. "The parents, the pill, everything." Adrian knelt in front of Lily, voice low and sympathetic. "My uncle had early onset dementia," he said gently. "It starts like this. Paranoia, confusion. Stress makes it worse." Alina's heart sank. He wasn't just drugging her, he was erasing her credibility. Then Adrian stood and looked directly at Alina. "For your safety," he said softly, "we think it's best if you don't attend the wedding." The words crushed the air from her lungs. He wasn't trying to silence her, he was trying to remove her completely. And Alina realized something chilling. This man wasn't planning a wedding, he was planning an execution. Alina woke to the smell of burnt coffee and unfamiliar breathing in her kitchen. Her head pounded. Her mouth tasted metallic. The ceiling felt too bright. For a few seconds she didn't move, letting memory drip back into place. The party. The pill, Lily's tears, Adrian's calm voice telling her she was dangerous. She sat up. At her small kitchen table sat a broad-shouldered woman in medical scrubs scrolling through her phone. "Oh, you're awake," the woman said without looking up. "Good. Mr. Hale said you'd sleep late." "Who are you?" Alina asked. "Name's Carla, home care aide." She finally glanced up. "Paid in advance. My job is to keep you safe inside until the wedding." Alina's stomach twisted. "I didn't hire you." "Yeah," Carla shrugged. "Mr. Hale did, said you wander and fall a lot. Doors are locked from the outside. I've got the only access fob." It wasn't care, it was confinement. Alina poured herself coffee and forced her hands not to shake. She ran the mental inventory like she always did. Physical barrier, locked doors, time window 3 days until the ceremony. External ally, only one name mattered. Raymond Cooper, former police chief, widower, lived 5 miles north along the coast road, the one person who still trusted Alina's instincts without laughing. "I need to go to the pharmacy," Alina said softly, pressing a hand to her chest. "Heart medication, if I skip a dose I get palpitations." Carla studied her. The risk of a medical emergency on her watch outweighed inconvenience. "Fine," she sighed, "but I drive." At the drugstore, Alina waited for the opening. She found it near the hygiene aisle. "Oh dear," Alina gasped loudly, clutching her stomach. "Bathrooms now," Carla panicked instantly. "Keys are at the counter, I'll get them." The moment Carla turned away, Alina didn't head for the restroom. She slipped through the emergency exit. The alarm shrieked behind her as cold air slapped her face. She didn't run. She walked fast and steady toward the taxi stand across the parking lot. "Cooper's cabin," she told the driver, climbing in. "Double fare, don't ask questions." Raymond was chopping wood when the taxi pulled up. His gray hair blew wildly in the coastal wind. "You look like hell," he said flatly. "I need whiskey," Alina replied. "And your laptop?" Inside the cabin, Alina laid everything out. The fake shoes, the false parents, the drug, the isolation tactic. Raymond listened quietly, then sighed. Alina, maybe he's just a liar. That doesn't make him a killer. She leaned forward, eyes burning. He mentioned an insurance company called North Shore Mutual. It shut down 6 years ago. You don't lie about paperwork unless you're hiding something far worse. Raymond's expression changed. The cop was awake now. Run his name, Alina said. Right now, because she knew the answer was about to change everything. Raymond's fingers moved across the keyboard with the slow confidence of someone who hadn't lost the habit of digging into secrets. Adrian Hale, he muttered, born supposedly in Texas. Clean record, too clean. Check aliases, Alina said sharply. Cross-reference the parents. The screen refreshed. Raymond leaned closer. Well, I'll be damned. What? Alina demanded. The parents don't exist, social numbers dead-ended, but facial recognition pulled something else. He clicked again. A mugshot filled the screen. The man looked older, thinner, but the eyes were identical. His real name is Marcus Vale, Raymond said quietly. Professional con artist, multiple fraud charges under different identities. Never stayed long enough in one place to build a permanent record. Alina felt cold satisfaction creep up her spine. If the father is fake, then the son is worse. Raymond continued scrolling, then he froze. There's more. He turned the screen toward her. Case file, Vermont, 5 years earlier. Victim, Claire Vale. Cause of death, vehicular accident. Brake failure, husband present at time of investigation, cleared due to alibi. Alina's hands clenched. He killed her, she whispered. Accident ruled mechanical failure, Raymond read. Insurance payout. $1.2 million. What car? Alina asked. Raymond clicked open the evidence photo. A twisted wreck of red metal lay wrapped around a tree. 1967 Falcon Roadster, the same model Adrian had given Lily. Alina pushed back from the table, her chest tightened. He isn't just marrying Lily, he's repeating a pattern. He builds death machines. Raymond stood up. We call state police. They won't stop a wedding over an old cleared case, Alina snapped. And Marcus is smarter now. He learned what not to leave behind. So what do we do? Raymond asked. Alina's eyes hardened. He bragged about a maintenance ledger, said he tracks every part he installs. Narcissists document their genius. If he tampered with the car, it's written somewhere. Where? His rental property, detached garage behind the main house. Raymond grabbed his coat. Breaking and entering isn't in my retirement plan. Neither is burying my daughter, Alina said, already moving toward the door. Fog wrapped the coastal road as they drove toward the estate. They parked far down the lane and walked the rest of the way, boots crunching softly on gravel. The garage light glowed faintly ahead. Raymond worked the side door lock with surprising precision. Click, the door opened. Inside, the garage was immaculate, tools arranged by size, floors spotless. The red Falcon sat in the center like a shrine. Don't touch the car, Raymond whispered. Alina scanned the walls, the workbench, the tool rack, then she saw it. One outline on the pegboard didn't match the tool hanging there. She pulled the saw away. Behind it was a hidden compartment. Inside sat a small red leather notebook. Alina's heart slammed against her ribs. She opened it and realized this wasn't just a logbook, it was a confession. But before she could turn the next page, the motion sensor outside clicked off, and headlights washed across the garage door. He was back. The garage door keypad beeped once. Then again, slow, deliberate, like someone savoring the moment. Elinar's blood turned to ice. He knew, she whispered. He left the book here on purpose. Raymond shoved her behind the falcon. Stay low, the motorized door groaned upward. Cold night air rushed inside. A shadow stretched across the concrete floor. Well, Marcus's voice echoed calmly, breaking and entering. That's disappointing, Elinar. I expected better strategy from you. Raymond stepped out from cover, gripping a heavy crowbar. Drop the weapon, Marcus. Marcus laughed softly and raised a silver handgun. You're retired, Chief. Your authority expired years ago. His eyes scanned the garage. Where's the book? Elinar pressed herself flat against the floor beneath the car, clutching the red ledger to her chest. She could see Marcus's polished shoes inches away, fake stitching, still crooked. Come out, Marcus said casually. I can smell your perfume from here. Raymond shifted his weight. Marcus fired. The shot didn't hit flesh. It exploded the Falcon's front tire beside Elinar's head. Rubber burst. The shockwave rattled her bones. Next one goes into your knee, Marcus warned Raymond. Now where is she? Elinar knew the math instantly. If she stayed hidden, Raymond would die. If she surrendered, at least one of them might live. I'm here, Elinar called out, crawling from beneath the car, hands raised. Marcus smiled. There's my favorite auditor. Don't hurt him, she said steadily. Then give me my property. It's in the car, Elinar lied. Passenger seat. For half a second, Marcus glanced toward the door side of the Falcon. Raymond lunged. The crowbar smashed into Marcus's forearm. The gun skidded across the floor. The two men collided into the workbench, knocking over jars and tools. Run, Raymond shouted, but Marcus was faster than Elinar expected. He kicked Raymond's injured leg. Raymond screamed and collapsed. Marcus grabbed a red fuel can from the shelf and ripped off the cap. No, Elinar screamed. Fuel splashed across the concrete, across the workbench, across Raymond's legs. Marcus flicked open a lighter. You should have stayed retired, he told Elinar calmly, then tossed the flame. Fire exploded across the floor. Heat roared upward instantly, blocking the exit in a wall of orange. Smoke poured into the rafters. The garage became an oven. Marcus bolted through the side door, disappearing into the night. Raymond coughed violently. Leave me, window, go. Elinar looked around desperately. The window was barred. The side door was swallowed by fire. The main garage door controls were already melting. Then she looked at the Falcon, the murder machine. Get in the car, she shouted. What? Now, adrenaline gave her impossible strength. She dragged Raymond into the passenger seat and jumped behind the wheel. The keys were still in the ignition. She turned them. The engine roared to life. Hold on, Elinar said, gripping the wheel. She slammed the accelerator and aimed the car straight at the burning garage door. Because escaping the fire was only the beginning. The real danger was waiting on the other side. The Falcon screamed as Elinar floored the accelerator. Tires spun uselessly against polished concrete before catching traction. The car launched backward like a missile. Again, Raymond shouted over the roar of flames. Elinar slammed the brake instinctively. The pedal felt soft. Wrong. She shifted forward, accelerated again, then reversed with everything the engine had left. Crash, wood splintered, metal shrieked. The garage door bowed inward but held. Hold your head down, Elinar yelled. She didn't hesitate the second time. The Falcon rocketed backward again. This time the door shattered. Boards exploded outward as the car burst into cold night air, smoke trailing behind them. Elinar hit the brake. The pedal dropped straight to the floor, no resistance. "No brakes," she screamed. The car continued rolling backward toward the stone boundary wall and steep ravine beyond. Raymond grabbed the emergency brake with both hands and yanked. The rear wheels locked. The car fishtailed violently, spinning sideways before slamming to a halt inches from an oak tree. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then the garage collapsed inward behind them, fire devouring the structure with a deafening roar. Raymond let out a shaky laugh. "You drive like a lunatic." "Necessary risk," Eleanor whispered, staring at the burning ruin. She reached into her waistband and pulled out the red ledger. The corner was singed, but the pages were intact. "He thinks we're dead," she said quietly, "which means he'll go to the wedding tomorrow." They hid the damaged Falcon on an abandoned logging trail and limped into the woods. Sirens wailed in the distance. Fire trucks, police. Raymond stopped her. "If we walk back now, we look like arsonists. He'll say we attacked him. They'll lock us up before sunrise." Eleanor understood immediately. Marcus controlled the narrative. They spent the night in Raymond's old hunting blind, shivering under thin blankets. Eleanor used strips of fabric to wrap Raymond's burns. Smoke clung to their clothes. Under moonlight, she reopened the ledger, her breath caught. It wasn't just notes, it was engineering. Paraffin compound, melting point 200 degrees F, brake line insertion, timed activation after sustained engine heat. "It's a thermal trap," Eleanor whispered. "Cold engine, brakes work. Warm highway drive, wax melts, complete hydraulic failure." Raymond exhaled slowly. He timed it for the drive from ceremony to reception. "We can't just expose him," Eleanor said. "He'll twist the story. We need proof that activates in real time." She stared at the Falcon through the trees. "We have to drive the murder weapon to the crime scene." Raymond blinked. "You want to ride a car designed to fail?" "Yes," Eleanor said calmly. "Because when the brakes disappear in front of witnesses, no lawyer can talk that away." Dawn arrived gray and bitter. The radio crackled to life. Police were searching for Eleanor Carter and Raymond Cooper in connection with suspected arson. They were now fugitives, and the wedding was only hours away. The Falcon coughed and rattled as Eleanor turned the key at dawn. Steam hissed from the hood. The engine temperature gauge climbed fast. Overnight cold had temporarily solidified the wax compound. That gave them a window. "Once this engine stays hot for 20 minutes, Eleanor said tightly, "we lose the brakes again." Raymond nodded. "Then we don't stop. We time it." They avoided the main highway, taking logging roads and back trails. Every pothole made the suspension groan. Branches scraped the sides. The Falcon looked less like a gift and more like a battered weapon. As they reached the ridge above the seaside chapel, music drifted up on the wind. The ceremony had already begun. Eleanor checked her watch. 9 minutes left. Blue lights flashed behind them, not police, a park ranger vehicle. "Pull over?" Raymond asked. Eleanor tightened her grip on the wheel. "I'm late for a wedding." She accelerated. Mud sprayed behind them as the Falcon fishtailed along the narrow trail. The ranger struggled to keep up, headlights bouncing violently. Eleanor took a sharp turn through a service path and burst onto paved road behind the venue. Steam poured from the hood. "We can't drive in," Raymond said. "Security will block us." "We don't drive in," Eleanor replied, unbuckling her seatbelt. "We walk in." They abandoned the Falcon behind hedges, grabbed the red ledger, and limped toward the sound of music. Guests stood as Lily appeared at the far end of the aisle. White dress, ocean breeze lifting her veil. Marcus waited at the altar, flawless in his tailored suit, smiling like a man who believed he had already won. Alina stepped onto the aisle runner, gasps rippled through the crowd. Sarah froze mid-step. "Mom," Marcus's smile vanished. "Security," he barked. "She's unstable." Two guards rushed forward. Raymond raised his old badge. "Touch her and you obstruct justice?" They hesitated. Alina kept walking. Her clothes were torn, hair matted with soot, face streaked with grime, but her voice was steady. "He's lying to you, Lily," she said, "about his name, his parents." "The car?" Marcus grabbed Lily's arm. "Don't listen to her." Alina pulled out the red ledger and opened it. "Read this," she said, holding it toward Lily. Lily recognized the handwriting instantly. "That's his," she read aloud. "Brake modification, thermal compound insertion, hydraulic failure after heat exposure." Silence swallowed the lawn. "He killed his first wife," Alina continued. "Same car model, same method." Marcus lunged forward. "This is fake." Alina tossed the Falcon keys onto the grass. "The car is parked behind the building, engine hot. Drive it to the police station. If I'm lying, the brakes work. If I'm right." Marcus stared at the keys. He knew. Everyone saw it. Police sirens approached from the road. Marcus turned to run, but there was nowhere left to hide, and the final account was about to be closed. Marcus didn't scream, he didn't beg, he calculated. His eyes darted toward the cliff path behind the venue, the narrow trail that dropped toward the rocks below. Escape, distance, chaos, that was always his pattern. He turned and ran. "Stop him!" Raymond shouted. Two police cruisers screeched to a halt at the front entrance. Officers jumped out as Marcus sprinted past the hedges. Guests scattered in panic. Alina didn't chase, she watched. Because predators always reveal their final mistake when they think they're cornered. Marcus reached the cliff path and slipped on wet grass. An officer tackled him from behind. They rolled dangerously close to the edge before backup piled on. Handcuffs snapped shut. Marcus finally lost control. "You ruined everything," he screamed, thrashing violently. "I had it planned perfectly." Lily collapsed onto her knees beside Alina, sobbing into her mother's arms. Alina held her tightly, leaving streaks of soot across the white fabric. "It's over," Alina whispered. "You're safe." Hours later, investigators inspected the Falcon. Alina stood beside Raymond as mechanics removed the brake line. Inside the metal tube sat the hardened yellow wax plug. "Thermal sabotage," the technician confirmed. "Once the engine heats up, this melts and seals the hydraulic line. No braking power." The proof was undeniable. Marcus Vale was charged with attempted murder, insurance fraud, identity theft, and the reopened homicide of his first wife. His notebook sealed his fate. Every entry, every cost, every timeline. At trial, Alina sat in the front row every day. Marcus avoided her gaze. When the verdict came back guilty on all major counts, the courtroom erupted into whispers. The judge sentenced him to life without parole. Marcus finally snapped. "You think you won," he shouted as guards dragged him away. "You're just an old woman who got lucky." Alina adjusted her glasses calmly. "No," she said quietly. "I'm an auditor who closed your account." Outside, reporters swarmed. "How did you know?" one asked. "What made you suspicious?" Alina paused before the cameras. "People think evil hides in dramatic gestures," she said. "It doesn't. It hides in tiny inconsistencies, a crooked stitch, A wrong weather detail, a story told too smoothly, the truth always leaks through cracks. Months later, life settled into something peaceful. Elena returned to her cottage overlooking the cliffs. Lily moved back home temporarily, healing slowly. Together they cooked dinners, walked the shoreline, and rebuilt trust. One afternoon, Lily handed Elena a small box. Inside sat the engagement ring. "I sold the rest of his assets through the civil case," Lily said softly. "I wanted you to have this money." Elena closed the box and slid it back to her. "I didn't save you for money," she said. "I saved you because you're my daughter." They stood on the porch watching waves crash below. The danger was gone, the ledger was closed, but Elena knew something important had changed. She wasn't just a retired accountant anymore. She was proof that instincts, when sharpened by experience, can save lives. And sometimes the smallest detail is the loudest warning of all. 1 year later, the cliffs no longer felt haunted by what almost happened. Spring sunlight painted the ocean silver, and Elena sat on her porch with a laptop balanced on her knees. The screen wasn't showing retirement budgets anymore. It displayed active case files. After the trial, people had started reaching out. Quiet emails, careful phone calls, widows who suspected financial manipulation, parents who felt something off about their child's partner. Elena hadn't planned to return to work. But the work had returned to her. Raymond stepped outside carrying 2 mugs of coffee. His limp had softened with time, though it never fully disappeared. He handed Elena a cup and lowered himself into the chair beside her. "You just helped another family avoid disaster, didn't you?" he asked. Elena nodded. "Fake investment firm, hidden accounts, same pattern, different faces." Raymond chuckled. "Remind me never to lie to you." "You couldn't if you tried," she said calmly. "Your left eyebrow twitches when you're nervous." They sat quietly, listening to waves crash against the rocks below. A car pulled into the driveway. Lily stepped out, smiling brighter than Elena had seen in years. Her posture was stronger, her eyes clearer. She climbed the porch steps and wrapped her arms around her mother. "Happy anniversary," Lily whispered. "Not of the wedding, but of the day we got our lives back." Elena held her tightly. Later, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in gold and violet, Elena reflected on how close everything had come to ending differently. If she had ignored the crooked stitching, if she had dismissed her instinct, if she had chosen silence over discomfort, she realized something important. Courage doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it looks like asking uncomfortable questions. Sometimes it looks like refusing to stay quiet. Sometimes it looks like standing alone when everyone else believes a lie. Elena wasn't famous. She wasn't powerful. She was simply observant, and that saved a life. She turned toward the ocean and smiled softly, because evil depends on being unnoticed, and attention is its greatest enemy. If this story reminded you to trust your instincts, then it has already done its job. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this story and want more intense investigations, hidden truth reveals, and smart storytelling, make sure to subscribe to the channel right now. Don't forget to like the video and comment your thoughts below. Would you have noticed the small details Elena caught, or would you have missed the warning signs? Your support helps this channel grow and brings more powerful stories to your screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.